going on, everybody? We're going to continue on arrows. Behind me, I have 3 arrows in particular. The one that we're mainly going to focus on is this front one here, the Easton X10 Parallel Pro. I am throwing the UltraView UV1K in here, and then the VAP TKO. I threw the UV in here because of the price. So, X10 Parallel Pro, Easton's arrow. It is aluminum coated with carbon, so it's not going to be a woven shaft. Let's see if I can get these up here, show you guys what they kind of look like. So on the very far right, you're going to have the UV1K with the 1K weave. In the middle, you're going to have the 3K weave from Victory, and on the outside, you're going to have the Easton. As you can see, it has aluminum on the inside. So let's talk price. UV1K, if you watched the last video, you know that it's $220 around there for half a dozen, so 6 arrows. With the VAP TKO for a half a dozen, you're about $129. If you go with the Elites, you can go with the Sport or Gamer. They're going to be a little cheaper. And then you go to the X10 Parallel Pro. You cannot buy X10 Parallel Pros, or at least I haven't been able to find them in a half a dozen. And those are $250 for 12 arrows. Now, with those 12 arrows, you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get fletchings or veins. You're not going to get a knock. You're not going to get an outsert, insert. They leave that all up to you. Now, I got to say, when I spun these, phenomenal. Like, probably the most consistent arrow I've probably ever tested. Now, with the aluminum, I do believe that if you hit something pretty hard over time, they will start to bend. So you'd probably have to be careful with that. But with that carbon outside, I think that they really hit it on the mark. Unlike the FMJ, where it has the aluminum sleeve, this one is the aluminum sleeve on the inside, and it's coated with carbon. So I think it's a little stiffer. I really thought that when I shot these, and I've always been a VAP or a RIP TKO guy, but those X10s, even with a broadhead, I'm shooting the Evolution Outdoors, Whitetail Max, Jekylls, super cool broadhead. If you haven't ever heard of them, check them out. Phenomenal. So coming into these, all of them are going to be 300 spines, and the UV1K is probably going to be your lightest GPI. Well, it is going to be your lightest GPI out of these 3. Like I said, I just threw it in here so that I could show y'all, a comparator or a competitor whenever it comes to price. So on my X10 Parallel Pro here, I'm running some Air Razor 26 veins and a Victory 50 grain shock half out for 4mm. Now this is going to be a 4mm. That's why I threw the VAP in here, because it's also a 4mm. And so I threw that Victory on there. I had them. I'm actually going to test them with some Easton's IP4 Nox, same as the VAP TKO, and really cool arrow. I really loved shooting this arrow. It was quiet, especially with these Air Razor veins. The more I shoot those Air Razors, the more I thoroughly enjoy having them around. So as y'all know, UV1K 8.7 GPI. I'll go over GPI again, that way new viewers, y'all know what I'm talking about. GPI stands for grains per inch. So for every inch, you're getting 8.7 grains. With the X10 Parallel Pro, you're gonna have a 9.5 GPI, and with the VAP TKO, you're also gonna get a 9.5 GPI. So very comparable, very, really, they seemed like the same, but I really felt like the X10 Parallel Pro outperformed it. But price-wise, I mean, you can buy a dozen VAP TKOs for less than you can buy a dozen of those, and they're going to come with Nox and outserts, so, or half outs. Now, there is a little bit of difference in them. Obviously, UV is at 456 grains, 16.5% FOC. We'll talk about FOC for the new viewers, but basically it's the amount of weight that's forward from the center of the shaft. So where does that balance out towards the rear. I might be able to get this X10 to get me somewhere, but if you set it on your finger here or on a roller and you set it there, see how much more shaft is towards the rear versus that. And FOC is all based off of how much weight's on the rear versus the front. And that's why it's called front of center. So moving on, all these shafts are cut at 28.5 inches. You're gonna have a 75 grain steel half out on the UV, a 34 grain outsert on the VAP TKO, and a 50 grain half out from Victory on the X10 Parallel Pro. I'm also going to try to run 55 grain Easton match grades, see how those go. You're going to be at 456 grains, 16.5% FOC, UV 1K, 454 grains, 15% FOC, the X10 Parallel Pros, and you're going to be at 425 grains, 14.44% FOC. All of those are at the 100 grain points. So doing the shooting with them, like I said, I really thought that the air raid or just the X10 outshot the UV. But if you don't have the equipment to cut and fletch and do all that stuff, the X10 is going to be very hard for a consumer to actually get a hold of and do what they want with. Now, they did give them the freedom. I think for the price tag, they kind of figured, well, if someone has the money to do that, then they're not really going to, I guess, so much care what it costs to just get it done. And I do like it because I do have the equipment to cut them and put different half outs and different options like that. But for those that don't, for the money, you know, you're not really spending that much less than just going with the UV 1K and ordering them straight from their factory or Podium or Dan Staten's shop, getting them cut, getting them, I mean, they already come fletched, and they'll have their inserts glued in or their half outs glued in with the points. So really the X10 Parallel Pro, like I said, it actually thoroughly impressed me. I didn't think it was going to do as good as it did. This one's not going to become spine aligned. It's actually really, no matter which way you fletch it, it's just going to shoot. It's a really cool. That's why that aluminum center on these shafts, I mean, it just made it such tight tolerances and just really shot so well. Even with the broadheads, like, there was no difference. It was awesome. I did have a little bit of difference with the UV. I've had to split the difference with the VAP TKO before. One thing I will say about the VAP TKO, and it may just be as much as I've shot them, and I haven't gotten to the point where I've shot the UV or the X10 Parallel Pro, but I never had it with the RIP TKO. I do feel like after you shoot a VAP TKO over and over and over and over again, over time they just kind of start getting out of tune, and it might be time to get some new arrows. Like I said, if I have that issue with any of these other arrows that I'm going to be talking about, then I'll also come on here. Once again, I'm not sponsored. I don't have someone in my ear saying, oh, you got to say that this is the best arrow and you got to shoot this arrow. No, I'm doing this for you guys so that you guys that maybe are thinking about getting into archery or don't know where to go with arrows, there's so many different options. So I hope this video helps you guys. I really hope that, you know, if y'all have some input to put in, or you've had an experience with one of these 3 arrows or even any other arrows, I'd love for you to comment below. If you have any questions, comment below. I'll try to get to them and answer your questions as much as I can. And remember, if you ever have any other questions that I'm not explaining, go by your pro shop. Go by and ask those guys. I mean, that's what they do for a living, and they should explain it all to you. Don't get caught up in well, this is Victory and this is Easton and this is Mamba. Like, pick what you like, pick what shoots well, pick what you think is going to do best for your situation. Where I'm at, most of my stuff is going to be big game animals, elk, mule deer. I haven't really ever done the whitetail thing, but I plan on trying it this year, giving it a go. And I really think, honestly, I'll be taking the UV 1K for the whitetail, but the X10 is right there, and I think it's going to be it's going to be a game time decision. They both shoot almost exactly the same with my sight tape. One thing I did notice with the Easton X10 versus and it's a give and take. So the Easton X10 I thought shot more consistent at distance. The UV1K did not shoot as consistent, but wasn't really, like it didn't have any type of like as much wind drift, I should say. I didn't have to adjust for the wind as much at like 60, 70, 80 yards. But really all three of them are good shafts. All three of them come in at different price points. Two of them kind of are the same by the end of the day. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll get back with another set of arrow videos here pretty soon. And until then, remember, train for the pursuit.